I've never turned around so quickly on my opinion of a game than with Fi Rush. There's probably an alternate universe out there where they only showed a trailer with no gameplay and the game flopped. I don't have the figures, but the people sure do talk about it a lot. Before going on and to contextualize what I'm going to talk about, I have to get this off my chest, and I think it's one of the reasons why numerous people reacted so poorly initially to the trailers. The bane of all our existences: English dubbing.
Yep, that's me. And you're probably wondering how I ended up here. Well, it's pretty standard. Check this out. Music player in my chest. It's powering up my new robot arm. Whoa.
Not so long ago, I would select English as my language of choice for dubbing. After exposing myself to more content from other countries like Korea and Japan, I would gravitate more towards the original language, i.e. the sub versus dub anime debate. Now, however, it's a must for me. The obvious reason being that a lot of stories right now are being changed to fit a political agenda. The right used to censor anything remotely not religious, and now the left changes anything 2 degrees right the left of Mao. Nothing has changed. Everything has to fit under a narrative. Neither will let you have fun. Another obvious problem is that most voice acting sucks in the English dubbing world. It's not no surprise when the same turbo communists who don't care about the media are the ones who write and act. It gives you subpar results. I can't speak for this game in particular. It might just be a case of bad direction, but it's a subject I wanted to mention in general. In context, after having played a couple of hours, I do admit that the dub doesn't seem quite as bad as I initially thought it to be, although they do take strange liberties, like Corsica having a Welsh accent. But overall, I still think that the issue stands, and that English acting in general is at best subpar in video games and anime. Now for the actual game. I do find that the scenes are slightly overlit, but they still look good. When the gamma is lowered, the colors pop a lot more. It's clear the game wants the lighter tone, but whatever your choice, everything looks good once in movement. The animation is really clean and on beat. I underestimated them when they said that everything was on rhythm. Everything is. Even the movement of platforms sync up with the music. It's amazing. Where I have grievance with the game is mostly in its early hours, regarding the defense and movement options. Although things do open up later, they're fairly limited and you lose the beat easily. Also, the timing aspect can become intrusive. In a game like Devil May Cry, you may have a skill like Exceed. Nero can time the revving of his sword to maximize its output. The mechanic works well because it's a constant timing that can be practiced, but more importantly, I choose when to initiate. In Rush, you often have to follow the beat of each respective world, so I may want to start an attack at the moment, but I might not be on the beat and have to wait. It would be nice if the first beat did not count, or if the beat started to count after I initiated an attack. Of course, that would defeat the purpose of the game. That's just a flaw that's going to rear its head once you have the ability to freely move around. In a game like Crypt of the Necrodancer, since you're moving from tile to tile, the movement is more restricted, but that means that you're more inclined to follow the beat, and the enemies also become a lot more predictable. Otherwise, I feel forced into the rhythm. Then you have to take into account that enemies also move and attack. They move freely until they start synchronizing with the beat. I wish there was a way to predict them the entire time through. There's moments when I just have to interrupt myself and not follow along anymore. The rhythm aspect doesn't always mesh with the fighting aspect. where in a traditional game you would flow into a dodge or a parry and be successful no matter what, as long as you manage to pull out the attack and time it to the actual attack of the enemy. The issues improve when you get the parry and an upgrade that allows you to delay your hits for longer. It's still not perfect, and of course sometimes 6 enemies are attacking you at the same time. Enemies attack off screen and it can become really chaotic, which is ironic given the nature of the game. I think that my main problem with the game is that the rhythm aspect doesn't follow the entire way through, and you can't predict enemy patterns when they can just move about freely and then suddenly you have to be on beat again. It's as if I was playing Devil May Cry and then I was playing something like Crypt of the Necrodancer or Bullets Per Minute. The solution would have to be to have things be a lot more restricted, but then that wouldn't necessarily mesh well with the Devil May Cry aspect of just move around and kick ass. Despite all of this, one thing I do appreciate about this title is the fact that it manages to not be stale like modern hack and slash games have commonly become. Light attack, heavy attack, and parry have become basic bitch mechanics. Each game needs to have its own spin. The rhythm aspect forces you to learn something new and adapt yourself instead of being another light Devil May Cry clone. The only thing I would describe as lackluster were some of the skills you could unlock. The partner and special attacks are cool, but the pins were that light RPG element that I could definitely do without. Otherwise, I was engaged and had fun pretty much all the time. In the musical department, I will say that a lot of the tracks, while pretty upbeat and fitting for the moment, were unrecognizable. Some were actually licensed songs, but I could not for the life of me identify them despite having the artist and title. During the writing of this video, yeah, I've been sitting on it for a long time, it was announced that Shinji Mikami left the studio, and I'm not going to lie that I do have some worries concerning that decision. If it was a matter of personal problems or retirement, he would have simply announced it. Now I start wondering how much did Bethesda get into the way of their game's design. Look at Ghostwire Tokyo. Ikumi Nakamura left because of that. Are we going to get more games like this? Or is it over now that he doesn't have input into things? He's pretty hands-on during production. Fi Rush ends up being a game to steal a line from Zero Punctuation that has an actual ending. It's actually an adventure that has a start and a finish. It's fun, it's cartoony, it's single player, and thank God there's no colored loot. It beat in terms of sale and reception all the bland and woke games that came out during that time. Truly a flash in the pan. The results could not have been better. It's on Game Pass too, just go play it now.